Welcome back to this summer shorts series on the podcast. And today's question is, what is failure? The world has so many definitions of it. And trust me, the enemy wants us reeling in what failure could look like for each of us. But let's turn this upside down like Jesus does in the kingdom and explore what failure really is. I saw a post on LinkedIn the other day. It was by a woman named Victoria Repa, and a friend of mine actually shared it. And it was an image that says, "This isn't failure." And it names a few things, which I'm going to talk about in just a minute. But isn't it fascinating that if you've been in business or leadership long enough, you know there are so many definitions of failure. And for some of us, I'm of the Gen X generation, failure is not an option, right? We've heard this our whole lives. And therefore, we seem to frame anything that is not outwardly, overtly, publicly successful as a failure. But I want to ask you, what is failure really? As I've been reading through the Old Testament, I'm in Jeremiah right now and watching how the Lord gives him a word to give to the leaders of Israel and Judah, and then they respond with, "Yeah, we're just going to do our own thing. What you're saying to us must be a lie." And then they go off and do their own thing and they fail. But why do they fail? Because they were not obedient. And so I would argue, as followers of Jesus, failure for us is being disobedient. It's taking our own way. It's doing the opposite of what Proverbs 3, verses 5 and 6 says, right? It's trusting in our own understanding, even though the word shows us that the very best path forward is always to follow the Lord. I was having a conversation with my good friend Sherry, who wrote the foreword to my book, Redefining Hustle, Navigating Success with Jesus. And she's been a guest on this podcast many times. We were talking about, can we find ourselves and keep ourselves in a place of floating on the inner tube of where the Lord wants to take us? And that seems so irresponsible in some ways. It seems so reckless in some ways, but it's really about relinquishing control and letting the Lord do what he will with our lives. Because, as you've heard me say so many times, he is far out ahead of us as our advance guard. We may be in chapter 15 of our journey, but he's already planned out through the end of the book, right? And so let's look at what isn't failure. And on this graphic that she shared, it says getting rejected after an interview. I would argue and submit to you that getting rejected in anything, as a leader, getting your ideas rejected, as a business owner, getting your proposal rejected, that isn't failure. You've actually succeeded because you've tried. Maybe you are following what the Lord has given you to do in this assignment, in this current commission that he has for you, and it just doesn't seem to be going the way that he wants you to go. But that's not failure. That obedience is success in and of itself. But perhaps it's about the learning. Perhaps it's about the connections. Perhaps it's about understanding that there are things we won't get closure on. And sometimes the answer is no. What else isn't failure? Receiving feedback, even if it's critical. We need that feedback to improve ourselves. Failure, even after 100 tries, that isn't failure either, because you've at least tried. Making a mistake is not failure. Missing a target is not failure. I want to hang on that one for just a second, because when we are in leadership roles, when we are leading our own businesses, hitting the measurable metrics of business, revenue, number of clients, all of those things is important to us. But missing that target, listen, the organization may go, you have to hit that target for our bottom line. But if you don't, for yourself, between you and the Lord, that is not failure. That actually could be argued to be growth. And I understand that many of you, especially if you're in the sales arena, may be thinking, but you don't understand. My income is based on this. My commission is based on this. If I don't hit these goals, then I don't have a job. And I get it. But that doesn't make you a wholesale failure. But the enemy wants you to believe that because he wants you to not believe a few things. He wants you to not believe that the Lord is your provider. He wants you to not believe that the Lord is always taking care of you no matter what. If you're watching this, I'm looking through the book that I've been reading on success by Kent and Barbara Hughes. I talked about that in the last podcast episode. But it asks the questions: do we believe that he is our provider? Do we believe that he loves us? Do we believe that he is morally active on the part of those who seek him? Do we believe that he will take care of you? And the enemy wants you to falter in that belief. What else is not a failure? Choosing the wrong idea is not a failure. You're going to try things. The Lord is going to lead you to do things because of the learning, because of the lives that were impacted. You know what else is not a failure? Shifting your direction. This is not the work that I thought I would be doing, but it is the work the Lord led me to. But when I shifted direction from my first business in multi level marketing, I had so many people look at me and say, "Why are you quitting on yourself?" But it is not failure to shift when you are following what the Lord has you doing. But at the bottom of this graphic, it says, "This is failure, not trying at all." Failure is not listening to the Lord and going where he's going. Failure is trying to open the door that he has clearly closed. And again, I want to be clear, this isn't whole person failure, but we seem to think of failure as such a terrible thing. And I want to shift that thinking. So I can't wait to hear what you think about this. Please hit me up on social. Email me at Erin@erinharrigan.com. And by the way, if you're not already on my email list, go do that. Jump down in the show notes, download my audio devotional to jump on my email list. And if this is something that you struggle with as well, the Navigating Success with Jesus Masterclass that's coming up this fall, it's now enrolling. That could be the perfect place to help you work through these things so that you understand how the Lord defines and directs you, so that you can put the spiritual disciplines in place to let him lead, and so that you can embrace Holy Spirit development. Because what the world calls failure is most often Holy Spirit development. Remember, friends, God made you ambitious, but he did not make you for business as usual. And failure doesn't look like the world says when you're operating from a kingdom perspective. Until we're together next time, I pray for and encourage you to tune out the world, tune into God's truth, and turn up focus so that you can walk out your assignment with clarity, serenity, and fulfillment. I'll see you on the next episode.